Triangle window or square window. They do the same job, but one costs a lot more. Would you pay for the look? Because at this point, I really didn't know what to do. Hi everyone, this is Mark, and we are continuing to build our house here in Poland. Before I share my decision with you, I'm really curious. What would you choose? Triangle or square window on the second floor? And why? In this episode, I'll show you what I went with and the reasoning behind it. Let's get started. Before I could even decide on the window, first I had to build the walls where it's actually going to sit. The second floor walls still needed to go up on both sides. So first thing first, I carried up a few blocks to make sure I had everything close by and ready to go. Next, I dry fitted a few blocks on the top of the wall to get a feel for the final height. We wanted the window to sit as low as possible since the bed will be right in front of it. So in the morning, we can just open our eyes and look straight out at nature. The moment I had to make the final decision was getting closer and closer. Instead of facing it, I started laying the first row of bricks, just to buy myself a little more time. Triangle or square? Triangle or square? Cheaper or more expensive? Can I even justify it? That's all I had in my head, running through every pro and cons. I went through everything again, ran the numbers, checked every option, and even dry fitted a few blocks to see how it would actually look. At this stage, it was still hard to imagine it properly just from the plans, so seeing it in real life made a huge difference for me. So what was the conclusion? I finally had a clear plan in my head, and I was ready to run it by my wife so we could make the final decision together. The next morning, I had plenty of help from the kids, and together with my wife, we finally made that decision. You might be disappointed, but we didn't go with the triangle window. We chose the square one. After thinking it through, it just made more sense for us. Yes, the triangle window would have looked more unique, no doubt about that. But there were a few important factors that made us change the direction. First, the construction side. With the roof already in place, installing a triangle window would have been much more complicated because it would need a lintel, and there simply was not enough space to fit properly under the roof. Then there was the cost. It would have been roughly 3 times more expensive on each side, which adds up quickly. For us, it just wasn't worth it. We'd rather put that money into something more important. Another thing was space. The upstairs area is actually quite small, and we were planning to add the built-in storage just under the roof. A triangle window would have taken up too much of that space and limit our options. And finally, functionality. A triangle window can't be really opened like a square one, and that was a big factor for us. So in the end, the decision was clear. We let go of the fancy option, and honestly, to this day, we have zero regrets. I made sure the walls were reinforced with rebars, since we are not going to have that V-shaped ring beam above the upstairs walls. I had 12mm rebars on hand, so that's what I used. I'm not even sure what is actually called, so if you know, let me know in the comments. The day went by quickly, and even when I managed to get to the farm, I only had a few hours to place a couple of blocks. So progress was quite slow. During that time, I also had another project going on, It wasn't the most exciting one, but it still needed my attention and took up quite a bit of my time. But more on that later in the video. Over the next few days, my father-in-law Tadek showed up again as he had some free time and came to support me, which I really appreciated. Although I had ordered 12 pallets of blocks at the start of the build, we were already running low, so I had to place another order with our supplier. We ordered more solbet blocks, additional U-blocks, some glue for them, and a few pieces of rebars. In total, I paid 1,245 zloty. Once we reached the desired height, it was time to install supports to hold the U-blocks in place. These would later be filled with rebar and concrete, forming a lintel above the window. I really like working with these U-blocks. They make the job much easier. They are not suitable for every type of building, but in our case, they save a lots of time and effort. There's no need to build formwork from wooden planks, and the blocks themselves also provide better insulation. The next step was to place the rebar cage inside the U-blocks. Because of the limited space, I had to assemble it directly in that narrow gap, which was quite challenging. I also added a couple of threaded rods on both sides of the lintel, tying it to the nearest rafter for extra support. Then we started pouring the concrete into the lintel, or at least we were about to, but that's when we realized the ends hadn't been sealed, so we had to fix that quickly. I cut 2 small pieces of OSB and placed them at both ends. The concrete would have pushed those OSB pieces out, so I had to come up with a solution. I climbed onto the roof and secured them with a wooden button. Since I couldn't puncture the membrane, I used the button to press the OSB tightly against the bricks instead, secured with a couple of screws. We mixed some wheelbarrows of concrete, and that was it for the day. We had a little party after the sun went down, and eventually everyone found a place to sleep on the land. Some in the car, some in tents, and me? Well, it was time to try the house, right?
Good morning.
The next morning everything was clearer. We just had to repeat what we'd done the day before. With some experience already under our belts, there was less thinking and we picked up the pace. Of course, the bricks didn't get any lighter overnight, but the work felt easier. Always better to work when family is around. Everything feels lighter, even on a long day like this. The work goes faster, the laughs comes easier, and somehow the whole place starts to feel a bit like home. The back of the house meant to be identical to the other, but along the way we made some small changes to the plan. Because of the large open space without the second floor in front of the window, we wouldn't actually be able to reach it anyway or open it, so we figured, why limit the size if we can't even open it? We decided to go bigger, and I mean it, with an opening of over 2 meters, matching the patio door just down below. It should bring in plenty of evening sunlight, especially with the sun setting right behind the forest. Realistically, the only reason to climb up there in the future will be to clean that window. Although this window won't be as tall as on the other side, I still think it's going to look great. Since you can't really stand right up close to it anyway, the proportion shouldn't bother you, and you should still get a really nice view from the second floor. We will see how it turns out. I definitely won't miss the chance to let you know whether I was right or completely wrong. If I'm wrong, then it's on me. I've got no one else to blame, but I'm sure I'll get used to it, and one day it will just turn into a funny story to tell the grandkids. One more rebar cage, some concrete, and I could finally let it rest while the concrete cured. In the meantime, I moved on to the other side where the concrete had already set by then. So to place the remaining bricks on top of the lintel, it had to be done from the outside, and that's when I got this slightly crazy idea. The window opening was just slightly smaller than one of the scaffolding sections, so the plan was to squeeze it through, lock it in place, and use it as a platform. That way, it could hold me steady and save me from moving all the scaffolding to the front. Definitely trying to cut a few corners here. I secured it with a chain to one of the beams to keep the scaffolding pulled down while balancing my weight on the other side. At least that was the plan. In my head, the plan was solid, safe, secure, foolproof. I had thought of everything. What possibly could go wrong? I trusted myself, took a breath, and I went for it. And then, it actually worked perfectly. With this unique platform, it was finally time to wrap up the wall project. I glued the blast bricks into place, and for the first time the structure actually looked complete, at least from the front. Anyone passing by could think the house was nearly done. But from the back, well, that was still a pretty big gap, but you will have to take my word for it. I finished that in the following days. I figured you probably had enough of watching me lay bricks, so I won't show that here. But there was something else I mentioned earlier in the video, something that took quite a bit of my time. Not the most exciting job to watch, but one I actually really enjoy. This job was all about digging, and a lot of it. This time, I decided to do it myself and save more money on the excavator. I've been spending a bit too much time sitting lately anyway, so it turned into some good exercise. I just took it slow, doing a little bit each day, sometimes only a couple of meters at a time, but honestly I really enjoyed it. It gave me plenty of time to think and a solid workout at the same time. What do you think about groundwork? Do you enjoy it or absolutely hate it? Well, I guess that's it for today's update. I hope you enjoyed this part. If you did, drop a like and consider subscribing. If you'd like to support our family journey and what we are doing here, you can buy us a coffee. The link is in the description. Really appreciate it. In 2 weeks, I'll be back with a brand new update. There's already a delivery on the way with some exciting stuff. Feel free to guess what we ordered next. Thanks for watching. Mark is out. Peace.